Hey, well, welcome to day 4. Last time we celebrated being more than halfway through. I think our content today won't take the whole time unless you guys really have lots of questions. But today there are some new topics and some old topics. At the end of the day, we will see another termination, which is where we started our story. So at the end, we will see a little bit of that again. But today too, we're going to talk through some of our talent features that we have. Some of this is going to be new to campus, which is exciting, and one of the strategic things that the business partners are going to be engaged in doing and involved in. But also some of it's just replacement. So the performance review, for example, is similar to what we have today. But there's a whole new process for that. So we're excited to share with you today. At the end too, I think we have a slide where we'll talk about kind of next steps, what's after this. So in addition to these intensive workshops where we've been going through and demoing it, Lindsay and our team of consultants are working on hands-on activities and opportunities for you guys to come in, log into Workday, have your hands on a keyboard, and do this for your organization, try to figure this out for here. We also have some information about what others in your organizations may be receiving as far as training. So I don't know if we had before raise of hands of who's also in these HR roles, but who may be a change champion. All right. So for those of you who don't know, we have been engaged. When did the Change Champion Network start? Beginning of this year. So since the beginning of this year, we've been engaging a group of people all across campus. There's usually 1 or 2 representatives in every organization that we've been kind of teasing Workday along and coaching them and talking to them about how we can get excited for Workday, how we can help people with the change curve that happens when we adopt something as large as this. And they also have been receiving and getting sneak peeks and previews and information about Workday that they've been able to share in your organization. So between some of the change champion thing and some of the end user training and hopefully all the information and the expertise you guys will have, we hope every organization will be able to transition smoothly and start using Workday in December and January to go live. There is also information that will be coming out soon about exactly what our cutover plan is. So when different things will be happening as we prepare. There will be things in existing systems like PeopleSoft that will be turned off on certain dates. So you guys will want to be aware of those things. And then also we'll be having dates of when things will be turned on in Workday. So there will maybe some transactions that for a period of time will call it a freeze, so they won't be available for some time. And that's a little bit different for different areas. So our finance teams who are also partnering with us in coming to Workday, they have a little bit different of a timeline. For HR, there's kind of a general timeline, and we're working on getting that published to you as soon as possible. If there are things that you are particularly nervous about when we are turning on PeopleSoft and we're turning on Workday, and maybe there's a week or 2 at the end of the year where we won't be processing hires and some things like that. If you have questions about that, I'm interested in use cases and feedback from you guys. So maybe during the break, come and find me and I can talk to you about any specific use cases. We're already reaching out specifically to some areas that have high volume hiring, division of continuing education and dining. And I know there's people who are hiring TAs and things like that at the beginning of the semester. So we've talked through some of those scenarios on how to do those. But I'm happy to engage and learn more about the specific things you guys have in each of your departments that we can help mitigate or plan for or coordinate with you. With that big long intro, we have some exciting presenters today. They're all excited to be here, I know, and they're so happy to be here. We've brought them along on our journey. We've already had Molly come and present on day 1, I believe. Molly lives up here and she was really excited to present. I could feel her energy and I think she's going to bring that again today. And then I don't know, I'll introduce Marcy and Greg. They're also here today to talk about our talent things. Marcy is this your new title? It's changed a little bit, right? So she is going to help coordinate in this is a strategy piece for BYU over our talent development for our employees. Brad Taylor was on our work stream and he was part of this, and then you guys everyone knows Greg on campus, right? Because he's does trainings and things, and he's actively engaged, helping us out on every level. And he'll be doing a little bit of demo on some other things today too. So with that said, I will turn the time over. Do we need to review the story? Do you want to do that, Lauren? Story?
Yeah.
We'll have Lauren review where we are in our story with Shelley. And then we will turn the time over to Greg. And go from there.
Hey, Lauren. Yes, so I think they're gonna start. Oh, she did? It's recording. Okay, great. Okay, the recording, sorry. Okay, guys, we've been through so much with Shelley's staff. She even has a profile picture in Workday. If you're lucky, you'll get to see it today. I can't remember. It might look familiar to you guys, but yeah, so in our story, we're back in, and Shelley has started working at BYU. And so today, like we were talking about, we're going to go through some of the things that happen while you're here. So you guys have seen like the termination stuff, and then you've seen filling the new position and all the hiring and onboarding, but now you're gonna see some of the talent stuff today and just some comp stuff that happens. And that will happen to Shelley while she's here at BYU. And so Shelley has started working and wants to be able to grow professionally. And so I'm gonna say this question, but you guys probably won't know the answer yet, and that's okay. What in Workday can help Shelley? And so the things that can help Shelley in Workday are gonna be some talent features. And so now we're gonna have Greg come up and he's gonna walk us through some of those things.
Okay. Indeed, I will. All right. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody's Education Week bingo going so far? I know personally, I've already given directions to 12 different people, and I also got denied access to a bathroom this morning. So, do we else play Education Week bingo? Yeah. Okay. We just concluded FSY bingo, and that was good. Yeah. For I might.
And are there prizes?
I have an unofficial card. So, okay, let's get back to Shelley. This is what's important here, is we're gonna be talking about Shelley, as we think about this now. Let's see. Okay, got the question. All right, so we're gonna be talking about talent. This is something that's really exciting. We're kind of pumped about this because, yeah, we all want to get paid. That's an important part of working. We're interested in your expenses, like I-9s, all those different things that we're doing. And those are, we know that those are in Workday, that we're going to be making those better and going through things. But what's really exciting is that there's this whole other side of Workday that's going to talk about talent. And this is something that we have had kind of scattered here and there, but it hasn't really been within a system like it is now. And so as we're looking at this, there's some really exciting things that are going to be helpful for our individuals to be more engaged and ways to do all kinds of interesting things. And then also for our supervisors to be able to help in that aspect too. So there's everything from kind of a talent profile, which is in some ways like an internal LinkedIn. I guess we could describe it where you can list your experience, your skills, all kinds of, and then interests in different types of jobs. And then it will allow supervisors, and as you open a job, maybe internally or otherwise, to kind of look through the applicant, will look through the employees and kind of say who has some of these skills. So some really interesting things. We'll continue to kind of peel the onion on all the things that are going as we get closer to this going live and as we kind of tap into this. So there are a few things that we really wanted to cover today, just to kind of give you a start. One of them is goals. We do goals, right? So employees within the system, within Workday, we have a way that employees are able to put their goals into the system. Now, typically, when do you typically set goals here at BYU? When?
PDP.
PDP, that's right. And when you look at them again, you need P next year, yes, okay, so what we're gonna be able to do is allow this there's some great things about this. You're able to keep track of something that I don't think we realize how often we're gonna be in Workday. At this point, but we will already be in the system. We're there. The goals are right there, easily accessible. They're accessible mobile, all those different things. Also, we kind of build having our supervisors, like all that workflow of setting goals, if you want to call them objectives, whatever you like, are right there within the system. So there's some really good things that we'll have from this. The other thing too that's going to be great is just a follow-up that's able to go on within the system again. So informally, whenever you want to check, it's not just when PDP is open, you can go in and try to remind yourself what are those goals that I set. But this allows for things like mid-year check and getting into the performance review and all those things. So managers are going to have the ability to set the goals for employees as well within their supervisory organization. So not just for an individual employee, but for their entire team. They can set a goal for those types of things. So those are things that are going to be really interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come out of that. So here's just like a screenshot of Lauren. She's got a lot of good goals here going on, but and this is a little bit of what it looks like, right? So Lauren's like, I want to improve my time management skills, so she's listed those things out there, and so this is kind of what it's going to look like as we think about this. Now, there's other fields that we'll look at and everything as we go through this with Shelley. But this is great. Now, by the way, this also will be lovely to fit in with our employee development program that we've just developed and created. So if you want more, I talked about that in the HR coordinators meeting a little bit, but we have some good support through our HR department for setting goals and doing different things too. So there's support besides this, but this is a great way to actually house what are the goals to make them accessible, and so you can review those and kind of measure progress and those types of things. So let's look at this and let's take it. So let's hope that all this works. Yeah, okay. So far, so good. All right, so here we are in here. Shelley's working and wants to set a goal. So she's got an idea of what to do this. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go up to the picture icon here. I'm going to click on View Profile. Okay, so this takes her to her just all kinds of information here. But we're going to come down to Performance. Don't worry, you don't have to take notes on this part. Yeah. Okay. Now, when I talked about some of the talent profile, you can see just across the top, just while we're here. Some of the things like competencies, performance reviews, feedback. We're going to get into some of these. But what I wanted to focus on here is a goal. So she wants to set a goal. So I'm just going to click on Edit here, and I'm going to say Add. Okay. So right now, it's pretty easy, right? If we figure out this goal, so we're going to say that Shelley's brand new on her job. She's found that she could use some help with Excel. So she's going to say, take an Excel class. I know it should be capitalized, but you're okay. From training.byu.edu here in the library this semester, and follow up with a link in. So she's I'm sorry, this is going to be really specific about pivot tables. Everybody's favorite. Okay, so she writes, here's the goal. If she wants to add more description here, she can do that and talk about more specifics. That's open. Now, a couple other things that are interesting. Within the now we can add. You can't just create a goal like that. Hopefully, we're going to make it smart in a little bit. But within the category, we can decide, is this an organizational objective or performance objective? Say this is performance. She's trying to help get better. We can look at the status. She hasn't started quite yet. And then here under the relates to, you notice that there's just competencies that are built into here. If I look at all competencies, you know, there's a lot of them there. But if I look at category and then professional, these may look familiar as they showed up on the PDP, so problem solving, functional knowledge and skills, delivering results. We're going to choose delivering results here as that one. Now, that's optional, you don't have to choose that. And then we're going to put a due date in. We're just going to say right before she takes some time off for the holidays. And there we go. So she set the goal. She's just going to submit this. Okay. And then she's got it. Okay. So, you know, she can see it here and look at that. Now, that's pretty easy as far as that goes. And you can understand that's how, you know, Shelley you can put goals in the system and you can go back and check on it. Now, the other thing that we want to look at is a little bit of how this appears for her supervisor, because once Shelley puts a goal in, then her supervisor actually approves this. So let me just, okay, sorry, this is.
A little bigger, please.
I could if I.
Control plus.
Oh, yeah. Then I'm gonna say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I have to remember who the supervisor is. Oh, yeah. There we go. Vincent didn't even know he was the supervisor of this person. Okay. Here we go. All right. So now when Vincent logs in, you know, he comes in and he sees that he's got a new task. Sorry. Says, oh, manage goals, Shelley. Okay, Shelley's task at this. So he's going to look at this, and he can review this and essentially just say, oh, okay, there's a goal there. I'm going to approve that, and then here we go. I like this because not only can Shelley do this, but there's also that back and forth between supervisors. Ideally, they're having conversations about this in their one-on-ones, and continue to have those conversations as we go through this. Now, the other thing that we can do while we're here with Vincent is that Vincent can actually create a goal for his team or for Shelley. And so if he, let's see, I'm just going to come here to team performance. Okay. So, and now you'll notice that as it goes to his team performance page, you can see, oh, Shelley's got that goal right there. So they'll show up and you can kind of track progress and what's happening there. But under goals and developments, we can see that there's some options, but he's going to say, in this, he's going to add, let's see, add goals to employees. And so you can create a goal. Who's going to assign this to? You could do his whole team, but in this case, I'm just going to assign one to Shelley. Okay. Now, and then it's the same type of thing here. And so he says, you know, for this one, like attend virtual conversations. Okay. So you get the idea of, don't worry about my spelling. Okay. So you know, same thing, you know, this performance objective, okay, and he's saying, you know, by the end of the semester, it turns out we have crucial conversations happening in October, so that's fantastic.
Who gives those trainings, Greg?
So I do. Yeah, we do it. Our office does, yeah. So we talk to me if you want to know more. All right, so he's submitting this, and then this will show up in Shelley's on the other side as well. So it's pretty easy for Vincent to be able to look at those goals. So it can go either way. So Shelley can initiate those, Vincent, the supervisor can also initiate those. And you saw you can do that for the whole team. So let's say that Vincent also wants to have a goal for his team to read the book Crucial Conversations. He would put that in there. You can set that up as a goal. And so this provides some really cool opportunities for our employees and our supervisors to be able to set the goals, track those, and be able to kind of think about what's going on. So this is just kind of a taste of the goals that can happen. But you can update the status as we're going through that, and then and let's see, I think this goals unassigned. He can kind of look at all of these that are attending Christian University. So okay, so those are. That's kind of the goal. So just wanted to kind of whet your appetite a little bit about goal setting. We're really excited about this because that is honestly for goals. That's going to be one of the first things that we're going to hope that you can do in talent. And so as you're thinking about January, once we kind of get our head around everything we have to do around this, one of the things that will be nice that we'd love to have happen is for you to then be putting your goals or have employees and supervisors kind of make sure that the goals are entered into the system. And once we do that, then we can that'll set us up for success with our performance reviews and so on. Okay, so that's as we're looking at it, that's our goals. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. So far, so good. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The goals we make this fall in PDP port over to Workday when we go live.
No, they will not. Okay, that would be nice. Through the magic of something.
Repeat the question.
Oh, sorry. So we're wondering if the goals that we put in the PDPs this year will port over to Workday, and as far as I know, they will not. So, this is a great opportunity to learn the system now. So, yeah, next year they'll be there. Any other questions about this so far?
Replacing the PDP system with how?
Will this be, replacing the PDP system? Yes. Not this, we'll show you a little bit more as we go through this, but yes, the PDP system that we have now, we're gonna put to bed, retire it, and we will double move into Workday. But not this year. This year, we're still doing those, so starting 2025, we will be doing Cisco Centennial and Workday. Does it get better? No. All right, so here we go. Let's see, so goals, talent demo, all right, let's go to feedback. Okay, we all know we want feedback. All right, feedback is key to performance, coaching, building engagement, building relationships, and up until now, we've just kind of asked supervisors and employees to kind of, hey, give feedback. We've got some tools, we've got workshops on that and everything. But Workday gives us an opportunity to have a tool to be able to do this. And so we're really excited about this as well. So like you can see here, this is something that we can do anytime throughout the year. And so we are kind of used to this one time a year, you get to have that PDP opportunity and you can go through and do that. But now we can be providing more feedback through the system. This is also multi-source. So you can actually ask for feedback yourself from multiple people, or a supervisor can ask for feedback for employees, and pretty great opportunity to do this. So those are the two ways, employees can request feedback on themselves, and managers can also do that. So this isn't quite like this isn't as robust as like a 360 type of thing, which by the way we can do as well if you're interested in that. But this does give us an opportunity to be able to solicit feedback and kind of work with that information. So let's take a look at this. I'm gonna go back. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna go back in as Shelley. All right. Okay, now I'll start watching. All right. Okay, so we're back in Shelley's profile here. She's super excited about being here, working at BYU. She's got a bingo card too. So as we're looking at this, so she wants to get feedback. So let's say that Shelley is excited and she wants to kind of look at get feedback on how she's doing the last couple months since she started. So one of the ways that we can do this is I'm just going to click on menu here, and then I'm going to go down to performance, and then you'll see there's get feedback on self here. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. And then first of all, we're going to ask. Whoops, sorry. was really quick on that. Who do you want to get feedback from? And so in this case, we're going to say that she wants feedback from her team here. So the people she's working with. So, and I like this because you can, you can select just certain people, the ones that give you good ratings. No, but you can pick a team, you can do, anyway, there's a lot of options as far as that goes. So here we've got that. We can have an expiration date. So let's say that we want it by the end of the month. And then what's nice is there's kind of a feedback template. So this is a starting point for your feedback. And there are built-in questions here. What's nice is, so some of the questions here, what goals have I achieved so far? What have I missed? So she might be thinking, my team doesn't really know about my goals so far. I'm just gonna remove that one. Okay, so what am I doing well? Okay, that's a good general question. What are my opportunities to get better? What specific actions can I take for my development growth? Those sound good. So Shelley's pretty excited about that. And as you might see that you can edit these. And so this is just a starting point. You go in, you can create your own questions that are helpful to you. You can even tie these to competencies if you'd like to. That's totally optional. Or you can add another question. Say, I like these, but I also want to ask an additional question. Right now, Shelley's looking at just the first couple of months, and so she is all right. I want to ask my team those 3 questions. That sounds like that'll create some good feedback. And that's it. And so that'll go out, and then so those people will get a little prompt to ask for feedback or to kind of provide feedback. Look at that. Yeah. Marcy.
If you can go back to feedback on stuff, when you click on the other templates, you have anything else loaded? Just trying to read them through.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So Marcy was asking if we have another template loaded. We don't at this time. You can create your own kind of a thing, but as time goes on, we may create different templates that we find are helpful. Okay. But what is nice is because you give you a starting point, you really can create your own survey essentially or feedback kind of form there. Okay, so now let's see. Then we'll go back to the this will go to the task box for people who she sent this feedback request to. And that'll get summarized, and then Shelley will be able to see that feedback on her performance page. And so she'd be able to, so let's see, just another way to get there. Okay, so she's coming along here, and this is see my performance. So she would be able to look at somewhere in here, feedback received. Of course, there's nothing there yet, but it would be there once the other people fill that. So she has access to what's happening there, and as it gets pulled in.
Greg, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Maybe you answered this and I missed it, but I'm wondering, the list of individuals that you can choose from, is that just people who are directly related to you, like within your area, or is it anyone on campus potentially?
I believe it's anyone on campus. So it just, you go there to navigate and start with the organizational structure, you kind of get it down to different people there, yeah. So which is nice. So if you interact with, if Shelley interacts with another department or interacts with OIT and just wants to figure out how is that relationship going, you're able to kind of customize that and set it up.
Okay, but as a dean's admin assistant, I can see all kinds of random people trying to get feedback from my dean.
Okay.
Just saying.
So, yeah, well, there's the option there. And that's a good question.
I just even mean people within our college who should be asking for feedback from their supervisor, jumping levels. I'm not even thinking about campus wide. It just feels like there should be some kind of limit in who you can seek feedback from.
Marcel.
I don't have anything set so they can do that, but you can definitely communicate to your team what's appropriate. If your dean doesn't want to take direct feedback requests, certainly don't need to. But, and Rob's doing a little search here just to make sure everything, that we haven't set anything else up, but it's meant to be much more open than we've had before. That's how it works. Feedback, anytime feedback. Now, your supervisor can actually create a 360 and use this tool in kind of a creative 360 way. It's pretty tricky. You have to build a custom template and pick some, we've tried to see if it can work in that way. It's better to use a 360 tool that we already have available through HRD, more traditionally if you want to do that. Any other?
Yeah, if you do get feedback on someone you don't know, or it's, it's not appropriate for you to do, there's a decline option and it'll just
Okay,
be,
okay.
Yeah, so that's
be
feedback.
removed from your inbox.
Rob, just to clarify, that's feedback you received from someone you don't know, or is it a feedback request?
So like Shelley solicited feedback from Jeff Peters, was one of the people on the team. And Jeff can go in and just decline and say,
It's like, I haven't met Shelley yet, so I don't, I'm not gonna give feedback, so.
And again, you can communicate to your larger group, if that becomes out of hand, that's not gonna be something that can happen. But if your dean wants to be really involved in giving feedback across the board, that might be a nice thing for the employees. So it really depends.
And it's not one where I'm just gonna go in and give your dean feedback, like, it has to be requested, so there's the. Yeah, that's what email's for. Okay. And. Okay, so. Alright, anyway, that's, as we're looking at it, now on the other side too, so we can also see that Vincent could also do the same thing, so her supervisor would run through the exact same thing. He would go in and say, request feedback from my team, and so you can kind of see how that would gather information on, say, performance. And so the use cases there are something like, hey, I have this new employee, and I want to know how Shelley's doing with this, and kind of can survey the team or can survey key customers or on campus and things, and just say, there are things that are going well and can do that. So some really good ideas and thoughts around how we can get those. Yeah, please.
So with the manager requesting the feedback, it would be on the group? I mean, if he's asking other campus groups how his team is doing, is that what you were just saying?
Not sure I understand the question.
So is there feedback on a department or a work group? Or as a whole instead of just on an individual?
Yeah, I guess you could put a custom question in there to ask about the department in general, but it would generally be set up to kind of go for an individual, not so much the team. So you say, this is not about Shelley, but the department in general. So yeah, that might be, we're setting something up in Qualtrics or, other thing if you're looking for the team, which we would recommend you do.
Well, that was gonna be my question is, can it be like a survey kind of thing, but would you get more reporting results from a Qualtrics survey than you would?
Yeah, so she asked, could you set this up like a bigger survey that would go out, like a customer service survey or something? And this isn't really designed to do that, this is more of an individual. So you would want to set something up through, like a Qualtrics or another survey tool like that. Or the engagement survey also gives information, along those lines as well. You want to look at that. So then that's outside of this. So this is really just for individuals to be able to give feedback. Mm-hmm.
Will this go for students as well?
Student employees, yes.
Survey quality.
Okay, so that's some of the feedback options that we have and the ability to go there. Let's see. And anyway, so I think just the idea of being able to do that and solicit feedback, it is a change and a shift, but more information helps us, and we can't really adjust or work to the things that we don't know about. So we always want to make it easy to complain. We really do. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so let's talk about performance reviews as we think about this. We're getting, we might have a lot of good information through the feedback, through looking at the goals that we already have seen in here. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is that you're able to get into the performance review throughout the year as opposed to kind of just when it's turned on for kind of PDP season and looking at this. Now remember, the expectation for our supervisors is that all of our supervisors are talking to all of their employees in one-on-one meetings throughout the year. That's an expectation that we have for all of our managers and supervisors all across campus. This will make it easy as you're able to kind of have access to this and continue to record what's going on. So now, one of the things that's important with this is that we are retiring the term PDP. Goodbye. Thank you for your service, but we're now moving towards performance review. To be in line, that's what it's called within Workday. We're just doing it on this performance review. I always am happy when we use a name as opposed to just letters. That's just me. But anyway, we're calling this performance review. Excited about that. And then a couple of things about this. So this will take place being either between manager and employees. So this is going to all be very familiar. The manager is going to fill it out. And then meet with the employee to explain their use. So the process will be very, almost the same as we go through this. But there'll also be two categories, like your competencies, those don't change, and then employee-specific goals, the goals that we just talked about and looked at there. So just and I realize this is small, but just to give you a couple, we just wanted to give you a couple of screenshots. So this is, the employee will actually do a self-evaluation in this, so they'll go through and we're gonna look at objectives, accomplishments, alignment with BYU and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So these are all similar things that are built into the PDP now. We'll move over and we'll be within the system as we're looking at that. We'll talk about those competencies, and those are the same 5 competencies that we have been using for the last year or two. So you will have the opportunity to put things in there, and then record some of the other ideas. And then just from the manager's point of view, they'll see those, be able to edit and look at those, and think about there. So Marcy, I don't know, any other for just what's changing.
All right, so a couple of things, just as a really important reminder, and Greg and I did talk about that, and he did tell me that he was gonna kick this over to me, so thank you, Greg, just for a few more reminders. This is not happening this year, please don't get confused. Jenny, you'll get a message from her soon, and we're in our regular PDP season, our regular PDP platform this year. It's really important that you know that that's what's happening this year. And then we'll kick this off with Workday, and this will be ready for our performance reviews next time that it's time to do this within Workday. The thing that's really important to know is there's, like Greg said, and he did a great job, is that we actually built this to reflect our current PDP structure. So it's not going to be new as far as the format. There's still going to be some mission alignment questions, and then there's going to be the competencies, which we developed. If you didn't know, for our PDP, we wrote those competencies to be specific for BYU. And then we imported all that information into the system so that it's matching. So there's that mirroring. But we did make a change, and I'm not sure it got captured quite correctly on that first slide. The employee is actually going to be the one to first provide feedback on the new PDP system about how they believe they're doing in their performance. That actually happens oftentimes right now. So I know that I get an email from my supervisor, and I send an email to my direct report saying, tell me about your thoughts on how things have been going, things you want to work on, some action items. But that is not their responsibility to write or develop. It's just meant to be input, and so that you have that employee voice in the process. And so we built that into Workday as part of the system. Once you have that information from the employee, then it is the manager's responsibility to write for themselves the performance review. A couple other changes, and it will go back and forth through the system. So you don't have to worry about email, you don't have to worry about saving. It's gonna be a lot better that way.
And then we'll still meet with them.
And then we are asking you to meet in person. We do not want this to be like performance review via Workday, like online. That would be not ideal. But we will have competencies that you saw, but they will also have, and this is a new feature for Workday, not for now, but there will be a bit of I don't want to use the rating scale and scare you all away, but it's more of like, is this person meeting expectation? It isn't like, did they get a 5?
Yeah.
Are they a 4 or a 5? We're just trying to create some metrics that we can then use for reporting that we feel like will be valuable for supervisors. So meeting expectation, exceeding expectation, et cetera. And then we're asking you to have that meeting. The conflict of interest piece will still be in the performance review. So the disclosure will be there as well. So there's a question?
Yeah, you had mentioned previously that the goals would not move forward.
Right.
Will the previous year PDPs be available in Workday or not?
But we can always get you so the question was, will the previous year's PDPs somehow make it over to Workday? We're not doing that. But we can get you a report anytime you request it from Jenny, anytime in the year even. Some people think that it's like you could literally only get it once a year. You can't access our current PDP system off cycle, but you can request a report anytime as a supervisor. So you just get to reach out and ask for one. And then you can, import those. You could even ask your employee to provide last year's objectives as part of the process into the new system. Other question?
So, my experience has been with these type of things, it's kind of an annual thing where you set your goals around this time of the year and then you kind of forget, and then just before, a year later, then you're like reviewing them again.
Yeah.
So with Workday, us transitioning to Workday, is it gonna be a little bit more like trigger us to like review it throughout the year instead of a year later? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Really good question. So is it gonna be more, I would say, part of our regular sort of day-to-day, instead of just like annually? We would really hope even now that you're doing that. But as far as like in the structure, we are recommending a mid-year review, which would include submitting, and this can happen within the system, an individual development plan, an IDP that we worked on. So you can have that structured meeting. You can ask your employees to come to their next one-on-one with an IDP, really anytime. And you can also ask them to update their goals within Workday anytime. So you're essentially, as a manager, which is good. An employee can also be like in the anytime feedback feature, they can also be proactive in asking for feedback and updates on their goals. But as a manager, you are definitely driving the ship when it comes to how often you're engaging with your employees. But the nice thing is it's all accessible on your dashboard within Workday. So you can just click on team performance and you can check in with your team and you can see previous performance reviews. You can see their development plans will be there. If we're doing a development plan with someone, their goals will be there, the feedback will be there, their job profile you can access. So it's a lot more than we've ever had as far as talent, and it's very exciting. Other questions?
So come January, can we go in and just enter all this stuff so it's there? Maybe
Yeah.
not wait until
Yeah.
next PDP
Yeah.
season?
It'll be up. It's already, I think, up. But it's not launched.
Yeah.
But it's already built in, so you can do it as soon as you have access.
I'd say. And just from a retiring something, so like when we go in December, PeopleSoft will be turned off in December. But from what I understand, the PDP system that we have today will be available concurrently. We wouldn't accept new PDPs in the system, but the system will be available through the year. So whether it's yourself or through Jenny, we'd be able to still provide, all that is not gonna go away. So the current PDP system will be available all next year if we need to reference goals. and
So
things like
just
that.
so everyone can hear what Rob was saying, which is a really important point. If you didn't know, our current PDP system is not part of PeopleSoft. It's our own product platform that we've built. And we aren't turning it off with PeopleSoft. It's available. So you can reach out to us anytime and ask for those reports. You can do it for yourself too. I'd like to see my report, my last year's. It doesn't have to just be managers asking for their direct reports. Other questions? We've got about 2 more minutes on this. On like all of this. Okay, well, please reach out if you have any or you think of any. Okay, thanks guys.
That's good. Thanks, Marcy. So yeah, most important thing here is it's integrated right into the system, makes it very convenient. And that'll be, so that's whoa. Preview, okay. So that's anyway, that's what we're doing. Anyway, thanks for seeing this. We're really excited about this. And we'll be talking more about this as we get closer, and especially as we get into 2025 and we'll start thinking about some of these things. And you'll be looking at this a little bit more. So I think we're gonna take a break for our next.
Go back to Patrick.
Yeah, let's come back at 10 after, so a little bit of a break, just some stretching, walk around, get the blood moving, so.
I feel like I need one of those, like, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. No, I'm not a school teacher, so I don't know all the. But how do we wrangle? That's how we wrangle the HR professionals back into talking about working, which is so exciting. I feel like I presented on day 1, and now you're getting me again on day 4. And I spontaneously broke into song on day 1, if you missed it. You know, those 3 seconds were epic. Well, I had the thought, like, I need to do that again because it was just so well received. Everybody just loved it. I'm like, so what song is fitting for this? And the song that first popped into my head was Taylor Swift. I was gonna say, it's me. Hi, I'm the, and then I was like, oh wait, no, I'm not doing that song. I'm not the problem. So, it's me. Hi. We'll end it right there. We're gonna start again talking about merit increases. We just talked about the performance review, formerly PDP, right? Not using that terminology anymore. What's really great about Workday is that we've talked about how it is encompassing many different systems that we've had that have either been part of PeopleSoft or outside of PeopleSoft. The performance review, formerly PDP system, is one of those. Our annual salary review process is another one of those. And that is something that is going to be migrating into Workday. But I have to give the disclaimer that Marcy gave, and that is it's going to be in Workday in 2025. So we're going to kind of gloss over this a little bit just because you're not going to be going into Workday to do the annual salary review process until like in another year and a half. So for this year, that ASR or annual salary review will still be in PayScale, formerly known as Curo, so it will still be that system. If you've been involved in that before, it will be this very, very similar to last year. Changes are going to be really minor. But just to kind of prep you for when this moves to Workday, we are doing a similar thing where there is going to be a change in terminology. So we're not going to be referring to ASR or the annual salary review process anymore. It's now going to be merit increase. And you've already seen this as we've done some demos within Workday, where on the employee profile, it's mentioned what merit plan that they were associated with. So this merit terminology is going to become much more common. So no more ASR after this year. We will be talking about merit increases. I actually like the change in terminology because I think it's underscoring the philosophy that we've always followed, at least on the HR side, we've always followed. I don't know if employees have always understood that philosophy, and that is that we're giving increases based on an employee's job performance, or at least we should be giving increases based on an employee's performance. That's always been the case, even when we had ASR, which we still have. That annual salary review is not a cost of living increase. It's not an automatic, everybody gets a raise just by virtue of showing up to work each day. It really is intended to differentiate those who are really strong performers and reward them accordingly. And so our hope is in talking about this as a merit increase, that will reinforce that philosophy that we're giving increases based on the merits of the person doing the job and their job performance. So as you continue to work in Workday, you'll continue to see that terminology, merit plan, merit increase, merit increases. That's what we're going to be talking about. So just a little bit more about that and how having it in Workday and the integration within Workday is going to be beneficial. We just talked about the performance review, and part of the performance review will be a rating for employees. And that rating will carry over from the performance review into that merit increase planning system within Workday. So you will see within Workday, and this is not dissimilar from how our current pay scale system actually works. If you choose to select a rating within pay scale, it takes that rating and then looks at where the employee is within the pay grade range, the full range for that level. If I'm a level 48 employee, it looks at the full pay range and says, where do I fall within that range? When you look at that, that's what we're talking about when we say the employee's compensation ratio. Where within the range am I? And the system will take a look at that in combination with that performance rating, and then it can recommend a raise amount for the supervisor. Now, it's not going to dictate. Supervisors will still be able to put in a raise they feel is appropriate, but that extra tool is going to be really helpful for supervisors to guide them to give increases that really are based on the employee's performance within that role. So that's our hope, is that within Workday, you'll still have, like we do, this great feature within pay scale of those raise recommendations, but the reporting within Workday is going to be so much better because it's within the Workday system. And so it's going to be much easier to access, much easier to create reports from. We're really excited about the options that are going to be there because it will be part of Workday. And as I mentioned before, that last little bit, this is going into effect next year. So we will still be using the current system, pay scale, for our annual salary, and you're going to be hearing more in the next few months because it's coming up. But this will be going into effect for 2025 in Workday, our current system for this year. But what's really nice, similar to what we talked about with the performance review, is that within Workday, we've really tried to make it as close to the system that we're using currently as we can. So for those supervisors, if any of you have been involved in inputting raises for employees within a Workday, it's still going to have a similar look and feel where it will be a table that you'll be able to input the raise. The best part, though, again, is that integration, where if I want to learn more about that employee, about their past raises, it's all going to be there in that system. So it will be really nice that way. So that's it for merit increases, just because we're not going to demo it. We're still kind of far out, but we will provide a lot more training as we get closer to doing, we'll provide training for this year for those who haven't used pay scale, but we'll of course provide training as we get closer to doing the merit planning within Workday for 2025. So any questions about that really quickly? Okay, excellent. So let's get back into the system where I will give you some more information about things that you'll be using a little bit sooner within Workday. It's really interesting. Within Workday, the functionality, I think take this as like Molly's opinion, but I think the functionality is as good, if not better, than PeopleSoft. To me, PeopleSoft feels like a system that you were using 30 years ago, just how clunky it is and how to navigate to things. So much easier in Workday. But with it, there is a change in terminology. We've already talked about, right? It's not PDP, it's
Performance review.
It's not ASR, it's merit increase. Okay, awesome. You're getting it. So within Workday, there's different terminology for things, but a lot of the same functionality. So we want to talk about the difference in terminology between a termination versus just ending a job, because they are different. So a termination, if we have an employee, and this is often the case for our non-student employees, you have an employee that just has one job. I am an HR consultant, I am an HR business partner, I am an HR operation. I have the one job, and that's my job, And when I terminate from the university, I'm leaving that job, that's what we call a termination. Someone who has one job and they're leaving that active job and the university, I mean, they're leaving. The difference is, in Workday, there's also something called end job. When you end a job, this is what you do if an employee has multiple positions at the university. Most commonly, this is going to be our student employees, right? Where they can have up to 3 student jobs. So just because they're leaving your job may not mean they're leaving the university and leaving all jobs. We don't want to terminate them completely because they still want to work the other jobs that they have. So we have the opportunity within Workday to just end a single job, the one that maybe falls within your department, and retain all of the other jobs that they have. Now, there may be cases where we're doing both, right? Someone has 2 jobs and they're leaving both jobs. Maybe it's 2 jobs within your department. They're working one job as a reference assistant here in the library, and they're also working a second job also here in the library as a research assistant. They're doing both jobs, but they're graduating. We need to terminate them from both jobs because they're leaving and aren't going to be continuing employment at the university. In those cases, we're going to end each job that they have, and then we will terminate them once we get down to that last job. So just to kind of show, we'll show you what this actually looks like in Workday, but that terminology difference, termination is I have just one active job and I'm terminating from that job and the university, versus end job where I'm simply leaving one job but I'm remaining active in other jobs. Yes.
If they're coming back, like end of summer, we just terminate, or we would end their job or we would terminate them.
Yeah, we would terminate them because they're no longer employed
Okay.
by us.
So
They're
even if they
continuing
come
to be a
back-
student with us, but they're no longer employed with us. Yes, great. Sorry, the question was if a student's leaving for the summer, so they're not graduating, they're not leaving the university permanently, but they are leaving for the summer, they're going back home, so they're going to end their one job, and then they may become re-employed later on. We would go ahead and do a termination in that case. Yes.
Yeah, so that, just to clarify, that applies to students who are going to work over the summer, like at FSY, or if they're switching to the MTC, or we have a staff employee going to church philanthropies, for example, we would go ahead and terminate them still.
We would terminate them if the job they're going to is a non-BYU
Non-BYU
employer.
job,
Now,
okay.
it could be a church employer, we would still terminate them. So philanthropies would be an example of that. The MTC employees are no longer BYU employees, they're church employees. If someone were doing Bonneville Communications, an internship, a church job is not the same as a BYU job, so we would terminate them from that job if they were not going to continue working at BYU. The FSY jobs often are BYU jobs, so in that case, we would keep them as a BYU employee. They would just be adding another job, an FSY job, or transferring from their current job to an FSY job through continuing education, which is a BYU job. Is there another question here? Yes.
So if you have an employee that is just switching, like kind of an interdepartmental change, like basically a, I'm gonna call it anyways, whatever the account code is, just not the account code, but like maybe it's a class code that's just changing or whatnot. Do you have to terminate them, or can you just transfer them? Do you have to end the job?
So the question is, if something about the job is changing, they're not necessarily leaving the job, but there's a change with the job, whether that's a cost center change, using new terminology, right? Or a supervisory organization change, those kinds of changes. There's a way to do that. We don't need to terminate them from one job and add no, we can change the job, and we'll actually cover that next. So that's a good segue for what we'll talk about in just a minute. Yes, another question.
If a student is leaving a position in our area and moving to a different department on campus, is it an end job or a termination? They
You would
don't
end
currently have the other job.
Yeah,
but
you would end the job, and then the other department would hire them onto whatever the position is. So the
terminate
question was,
means
if the
they're
student's
gone.
leaving your area, but adding a job in a different department, different division, different college, you wouldn't terminate them, you would just end that job, and the other department would be hiring them to that new job. Great questions. Let's get into the demo. Oh, yeah, one more question, please.
Okay, we've talked about a position being a chair. So if you have two positions in your department and the employee has been in one position, but they are moving to the other one, is it a termination of the one and then you can open the position to someone else, or?
Yeah, so if a student is leaving one job in the department and going to another job within the department, in essence, they're transferring to another position. There's a way to do that within Workday, that you can simply change the job. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a termination, but if they are an active employee, right? So not they left and they're coming back, that would be a termination and a hire. But if they're simply moving from one role to another, there is a way to transfer. And again, that falls into that job change that we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah.
So, but then the position they're leaving, that they're transferring from, that can be open and you can fill it?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, it will show up. And we talked about that whole idea of position management and how it applies to students as well. So the question, once that student moves to a new position, will the position that they vacated then be available to fill? And the answer is yes. So I think we've often thought about this similar to how we handle staff or administrative employees right now. Hey, they're vacating position number 3276, and now I can refill position number. That will continue, but the difference is that students and half-time employees will be managed in that same way. So we're moving to position management across the board, where you'll have those positions that are vacated and can easily be filled. Is there one more question in the back? Yes.
Like, what is happening on the back end with those that make it significant that we know which one we're doing?
Yeah, so the question was, how do we know the difference when you're working in it? I know if it hasn't popped into your mind already, one of the questions you're gonna have is, well, how do I know if a student has more than one job? How do I know if I'm supposed to be terminating them or just ending a job? So let's get into the back end and see what this actually looks like. So, see if I can do it.
And
Okay.
I'll just add to what Molly's saying. There's all these combinations of things, right? The second department hires them before you terminate them, or vice versa, or you want someone to move with their chair or without their chair. There's gonna be ways to do all of those combinations of things. So if you have a scenario, oh, I want this student to move to this person, there's not a position over there, I'll just send them with their chair, that's doable. Or if you want them to get a new chair and leave that one there and get a new incumbent, all those are possible.
So did you all hear that? I don't know if the people in the back, Rob's comment was, there's ways within Workday to do all kinds of things. And we'll talk about these kind of job changes, including transfer where they're moving to a new position, or the kind of transfer where they're actually taking their position with them. All kinds of opportunities for changing jobs within Workday. We'll see just a few of them, but a lot more that you'll get the chance to play with and practice with when we get into further training for all of you. So I've opened up Workday. I am Tiffany Turley. I'm in as her because she's the HR business partner for athletics. And she has an employee, Lauren, who has two jobs. Lauren's a project assistant, but then she has the second job within the athletics, sports camps that we need to terminate her from. So again, a couple ways that I can get to Lauren. I could go through the org chart, the supervisory organizations, find the Lauren that I'm looking for. But in this case, I'm just gonna search for her and see her pop up. There she is, there's her picture. I know I've got the right Lauren. So I'm gonna click on Lauren. And again, I'm Tiffany, but I'm clicking on her because I wanna go ahead and end this second job. We showed those terminations on day one when we terminated an employee to vacate their seat. but we wanted to show you an example of just an end job versus a termination. So here I can see that Lauren has her job as a project assistant, but underneath her picture on this left panel, you'll see these two arrows that kind of go like this. That's my clue that Lauren has more than one job. So I click on that and I can see her other job. She's an Olympic breakdance instructor. But hey, the Olympics are over. She doesn't need to do that job anymore. We can terminate that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and for her Olympic breakdance instructor job, as we do with so many different business processes within Workday, I'm gonna click on the actions button. And that's gonna give me all of these options. If I go to change job, because this is a change, it's gonna end her job, and then I can go to ended jobs. So I click onto that end jobs link, and it's gonna show me the jobs that she has, and I could, select which ones I'm ending. You notice because I am Tiffany right now, and I'm going to end this job, I can't end her other job because I'm not the HR business partner for OIT. So I can't end her job within OIT as a project assistant. It's only giving me the option to end her job within athletics. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that position. That's the one that I want to end. And click OK, and then it's gonna ask me for some additional details. What's the end date? What's her last day of work in this job? So we'll say it's today, 19th, 2024. And then we're gonna go scroll over because we made our screen big. And we just lost that. Okay. Couple other things. When she leaves this position, am I gonna close it? Or do I wanna hire another Olympic breakdancing instructor? For sure, I wanna hire another one, right? So I'm not gonna click that box. If I click close position, you might remember this from that day one. If I close it, it goes away forever. I can't just reopen it like we can now. If I don't wanna hire this immediately, I would freeze the position, but I'm not gonna close it because, hey, in another 4 years when breakdancing comes back, I wanna be able to hire this again. So I'm not gonna check that box, but that is an option. If it was kind of a one-off position, you're never gonna rehire, that's certainly something that you can do. Last day of work, it's gonna autofill these for me, but if her last day actually was, hey, she's actually gonna be working some other day, which you really shouldn't terminate someone on another day other than their last day, that really should be it. I'm gonna pay them through that, but this notify by field is kind of a nice one, because maybe Lauren hasn't told everybody else on the team that she's leaving, so we don't wanna notify them until her last day. Or maybe we do want to let them know she's leaving sooner. Hey, how soon do I want this to show up in the system? I could select a different date. Maybe it's going to be a week earlier or a week later. Probably not a week later. We don't want to tell people after that. Maybe you do. But you have that option to select a different date there. And then once I have all that information in, I'll go ahead and click, okay, I would hit submit. It's giving me an error because there's something else. Well, let's see. The worker has another situation going on, so it's not gonna let me finish this one. But if there weren't, I'd be able to go ahead and submit this and it would simply end the job. So questions about that? I know, really an easy process where I simply type in the person's name, find the right job, click on it, and then just go to the actions and, job change and job, and there we go. Okay, yeah.
On this particular error, will we be able to see what that other process that needs to happen so that we can follow up with it if we need to get this person?
Yeah, I mean, it will give you what it's giving me right here. I mean, me, Tiffany, right? I'm Tiffany. So the worker has an in progress switch primary job. That's the business process that it's pending. So I may not necessarily know what the switch primary job is. That might be it looks like somebody else. Let me find out what her other job is and talk to that person. So there might have to be a little bit more investigating because you may not be able to see business processes that are pending for other jobs that are outside your department. but you would be able to see what other jobs she has. Like, I mean, when I pulled it up to end the list, I could see her other job. I might have to follow up with whoever the supervisor of that other job is, or talk to Lauren and say, hey, looks like there's something else. Who's your other supervisor? Let's coordinate this and get that resolved. It's a great question. Yes.
Does that mean when hiring or terminating, just like now, if there's an E-form pending, it won't allow you to do another one? That's kind of the same thing. It'll always happen that way?
Yeah, if there's something that's gonna stop me from, it depends on what the other business process is that's pending. If it were maybe a title change for the other job, that's not gonna stop me from hiring them for this job. But if there was something that was affecting this job, like they're trying to switch which one is listed as primary, it's gonna stop me from doing it. So it depends on what's pending as to whether or not I could proceed with the job that with the business process that I'm trying to conduct. Is there another question? Yes, please.
If you were to by accident click the cancel the position, like go out of that closed position, does it give you, and you hit save, does it give you are you sure you want to do this error?
I don't think it does. So don't click it unless you really need to. Yeah, I don't think that it will give you another warning about it. So it may be worthwhile to work into your business processes of hey, when I'm doing an end job, let me go back through and review this and make sure it's what I want it to be before I hit submit. It will go to the supervisor. So when I'm terminating the job here, it will go to her supervisor within athletics to approve it. So there is a second step, so they could decline, I guess, they could decline that termination. So that might be your, oh no, your backup plan. Let me hurry, call the supervisor, tell them to deny that one. And then I'll resubmit it with the right information. So that might be your saving grace there. Yes.
So if the person that you don't know is hiring her somewhere else, but she hasn't officially been hired and that's the pending, is that gonna actually populate and show in Workday that this is the person that's trying to hire her? Not versus the person that already has her hired and might be changing her job? What about someone that's trying to hire her and then I try to hire her? Will it show me that other person that's also trying? Because it almost seems like that wouldn't actually be in Workday yet either, if that's still pending to go through the approval process.
So if you've got multiple people trying to hire a student at the same time, again, I think this may be a broad question, but I think it will allow you to hire the student onto your vacant position. I don't think them hiring them onto the other position is gonna hold that up. Unless there was, again, a business process up to
Yeah,
three.
they can have 3 positions
right?
like they do today.
So if you were trying to hire them for a 4th position and they already had 3, then you're gonna get an error message that's gonna stop you. But if you're trying to hire them and someone else's, they could both be happening at the same time.
Okay, and then I had a follow-up on that. Can you show us how to do the freezing the job?
On another, because it's a different business process, but yeah, if we have time, we can go back to that. Or I'm trying to think if we covered that. You'll cover it in your let me say that. You'll cover it in your business partner training that's coming up. We'll talk about that. Yes, in the back.
So if you got the error saying there was another one in the process, if they had multiple other positions, like they had 3 positions and someone else is also trying to terminate a position and it's in the process, will it let both of you terminate, like the position that's in my department as well as the position that's in the end job for the position that's in both departments? Or will it give you an error like it did for you saying something else was in the process?
Okay, I think the error is confusing people because this isn't, the error is, I'm trying to switch which one is the primary job. It's not an error because I'm trying to terminate 2 people at the same time. Because I would be able to conduct the end job for my job at the same time a different department is doing the end job for their job. That shouldn't create an error message for you. Does that answer the question?
We have the error message because I put myself on this position on Friday and I forgot to do the task to determine what the primary job is. And that's my bad. This isn't a normal problem. This is just
My bad, just refresh and it'll go away. Look, that may not always happen. You might have to do some problem solving, like we said, if there is an error. But for the most part, it's not, if you're trying to do something for your job, that's not gonna be hindered by someone else trying to do something that's specific to their job. It would just be in this case, because we're doing something that was crossing two jobs. But for the most part, yeah, it's a fantastic thing within Workday. And a fantastic thing about position management, right? That it's being focused on this job and it's not getting held up by something that's happening within another position.
I can't remember if you went over this. Who all is allowed to end jobs and or terminate?
Yeah, so it's gonna be for a student job like this, the supervisor could go in and end the job. It could be I'm sure the operations specialist can go in and end a job. And the HR business partner can go in and end a job.
Polly?
Yeah.
Will the system do the auto terminate still, or will that go away?
Well, the question was, will the system do the auto terminate still? I believe we're trying to work that in.
It's okay if you don't.
No, I might be, but what we don't wanna have are employees in the system that look like they're employees who haven't actually worked here for 5 years. So as far as I know, the auto termination that we have in place in PeopleSoft, we're trying to get that in Workday also. You shouldn't have long gaps. If you're gonna have a long gap between when someone's going to be employed, then it should just be ending that job or a termination and then rehiring them when they're ready to start working again. Yes, please.
Is there a way for the employee to request to end their job in the system, or does that notice need to be given outside the system?
Is there a way for the employee to request the end job?
It happens all the time where a student finishes a job and then nobody ever terminated them, and so we try to hire them and they have to go contact them. Like, is there a way for them to initiate the ending of the job in Workday?
There's, I'm gonna look at my Workday experts. As far as I know, there's not a way for a student to initiate an end job. That really is the.
Or any employee, could any employee request to end their job in the system?
No. The employee can't request to end their job, but that's where our hope is, that employees and supervisors are in close communication, that you as HR business partners and operations specialists are working really closely with all the supervisors within your area and issuing probably reminders like you do now. Hey, if you have students terminating, please be sure to let us know. Please be sure to enter in the termination or the end job. It's gonna be some training and some constant reminders for those supervisors, especially those who maybe don't have a lot of student employees or who aren't hiring and terminating student employees on a regular basis. Okay, yes.
If the employee only has one job, will it even give you the option to do an end job, or will it only give you the termination option?
It'll give you the termination option. And so the question was, if you have an employee with just one job, and you'll notice when I tried this, I'm gonna cancel, I'm not gonna hit okay on this. Since I refreshed, let me go back to this. When I go to Lauren, I'm still on her Olympic breakdancer one, that's the one I want to terminate. If I go to actions and change job, you'll see, oh, there is the terminate employee. But you won't have that terminate employee option, if there is, if they, oh, no, you won't have the end job, sorry, you won't have the end job option if they only have one job. It will just be the terminate employee option. Yes. Sorry.
So we have a number of graduate student instructors who we pay on a contract basis rather than on an hourly basis. Is the process for ending a job any different? Let's say it's their only student job until you start their contract for the next semester. You add their contract for the next semester first before you end their previous, you know what I mean? Like, what's the timing on that? So you don't have to terminate them and then open a new position.
So the question is, if you have a student employee who is ending one contract and then will be beginning another contract.
Yeah.
If they're gonna be close proximity, you would end one job and then hire them onto the other job.
But what if it's their only job?
Even if it's their only job, like here I would be able to hire them onto the next job and enter in those contracts. Enter in the new contract for the new job and then terminate the other position. That answers the question. Yeah, Rob, did you wanna chime in?
Well, just the idea that these might be uncreated activity based, so you may not terminate the employee, you might just need to add a new contract.
Yeah, so Rob clarified for some, if it's a contract job, it's actually, there's a difference between, for some contract jobs, we have them paid through period activity pay as opposed to hiring them onto a position. We talked about position management, so it just may be a matter of adding a contract through period activity pay as opposed to hiring them onto a position. And we'll talk more about that differentiation when we get to really into the system. Okay, all right. Okay, so let me come back to, now that we've kind of given you this this kind of, hey, this is how you end a job, but there's lots of things that you might want to be doing with a position that are not ending it. That's not all we do here is hire and fire, like not fire, terminate. We do a lot of other things here at the university, and there can be a lot of different changes to a position. And within Workday, there's multiple ways to do a lot of things, but let's talk about some of those that involve compensation changes. So with a compensation change, there's two different actions, business processes within Workday that we wanted to clarify when you would use one as opposed to another. So you will see within Workday, there's the opportunity to request a compensation change. You would only use that in a case where the only thing changing is their compensation, how much they're being paid. There's no other change to the job. Anybody have any ideas of when that might happen? When would the pay change but nothing else? Yeah, Kathleen?
And this, like, annually, a lot of student employees will get a raise, right? Like a 25% raise or something like that, so some.
Okay, so if you didn't hear that, a student, if you're changing their pay, you're not changing their position, you're not changing what job profile that position's associated with, they're still a student worker, whatever it is. But throughout the year, you may be giving an increase at the end of the semester. You would enter in a pay change, and that's the only thing changing. So you could do a request compensation change in a situation like that. Was there another hand?
So like what had been the ASR or just now the merit increase?
Yeah, so the merit increases is going to be a whole different system and they'll automatically get loaded in just like they do now. But there might be a case where some things happen and they are extremely rare. I'm just gonna say this, extremely rare that something has happened with a position and you've talked with compensation, you've evaluated the job, the pay grade of the job is not changing, but they've taken on these significant additional responsibilities. Now they're managing a team of 5 people where they weren't before. And you're like, please, compensation, we've got to do something for this. Really rare cases, compensation change might get approved. In those rare cases, the student situation is going to be a lot more common, right? But there may be a rare case where you're only doing a compensation change. You would do the request compensation change action within Workday. Yes.
Would this also apply to instances in which you have a student at the minimum in their category, but then the university changes the amount of that minimum?
Yes, that could happen. There's actually some ways within, so the question was, if the university were to change its pay structure and all of a sudden what you were paying, if you were paying the student at the minimum and now you need to, not that this has ever happened, right? But the pay structure changed and you needed to now pay more because the minimum for that pay range has gone up. You could do this. There are some ways in Workday that when a certain job profile, the range has changed, you can actually change the pay for multiple employees at that point too. So there's a way to do it otherwise, but just kind of the one-offs, if it's like everybody's good except this one, and I'm just gonna go ahead and enter it into the system, the request compensation change would be a way you could do that, for sure. So the flip side to that, because we know the vast 99.9% of the time, if the compensation is changing, there's other things that are changing too. It's not just the pay. What might be some examples of that? These are kind of up on the screen. Okay, a promotion, right? They're getting two different types of promotions, right? Where one, they might actually apply for a higher level job and get it and be hired for it. So a promotion in that way. It could be a promotion of, hey, we added a lot of responsibilities to their job. Now they're doing much higher level accounting work. They're moving from an accountant 1 to an accountant 2. They're staying within that same chair, that same position, but now the pay grade is changing as a result of changes to the job. So it could be that promotion in place kind of situation as well. What might be another one? Everybody's looking at the board. Demotion. And we don't talk about those as often, but there might be a case where actually someone's pay grade is going down and maybe their pay is going down also because responsibilities have been taken away. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen on occasion. So those are all situations where we would want to do a kind of an edit to the job, change job, as opposed to requesting a compensation change. A couple others that we might see, contract renewals. If it's a contract position, lateral moves. So you might be moving someone and their pay isn't changing, but they're going to a different position. Where you're gonna wanna change the supervisor, you're gonna wanna change the position. You're gonna wanna change where they're located. That's that location change might be another thing. If they're transferring, going to a new manager. All of those things are things that you can do with a job change. So let's get into Workday and actually see what this looks like. Woohoo! Yeah, you can, woohoo! Okay, so we're gonna go back to our wonderful Shelley staff. Because, you know, we're gonna say within all of this work, they decided, hey, once she was hired, I'm gonna actually change this. I'm gonna go in as our good friend Lissa, because we've been picking on her and on engineering this whole time. So I wanna go back to Shelley's staff. Hope that's 2 T's, if not, it corrects me, which is great. Okay. So I want to do a job change for Shelley's staff. She has moved to a different area within engineering, so I'm gonna look her up. I'm gonna find Shelley's staff, there she is. There's a striking resemblance to Mandy Moore, if you noticed. I don't know if you did. Mandy Moving, is that who we called her? So I want to do a job change because we are gonna do, let's do a lateral move in this case. So again, I'm gonna click the actions button. That's gonna be your new best friend. I'm gonna go to job change. And I'm going to, this that says transfer, promote, or change job, I'm gonna select that option from the menu. So when I go to change a job, I'm gonna start where it says start, click on the little pencil icon. That's gonna allow me to make edits. I'm gonna see the asterisk next to certain things. That means it's a required field. So when do I want this to take effect? You'll notice I can put in a date here. Let's say I want this to be starting tomorrow. But then if later on I say, actually, I want this to be in the next pay period, if I select that box, it will automatically default my effective date to the beginning of that next pay period. But let's say, hey, I don't want to wait till the 31st. I actually did want it to go into effect tomorrow. Why am I making this change? It's a required field, so I have to say, in this case, it's a lateral move, so we're gonna select that as the option. Who will be the manager after this? Well, I'm gonna move her to a different organization, lateral move. I'm actually gonna move her to Dan Wheeler. That's the new supervisor. Oh, maybe that's not, oh, Dean. Thank you. You in engineering knew, like, hey, get it right. That's not, we don't have a Dan. We just have a Dean. If I typed in Wheeler, it would have given me the right person. So that's who the new supervisor is. Which team will this person be on? So what supervisory organization is this person gonna be a part of? Well, I know it's the one, I can't remember what the name of that department is, but I know that Dean Wheeler is the person who's the head of it. Oh, it's the chemical engineering one. Okay, so I'm gonna select that. Where will this person be located after the change? Then let's go ahead and put in, they're gonna be in the engineering building. So I can add that here. And then we're gonna start this. Now, what you'll see once I've started this change job is I'm gonna have all kinds of options that'll just keep asking me other things about the position. So what do I wanna do with the position now that she's moving to this new organization? Am I gonna backfill it or not? Well, no, because she's actually gonna take her position with her. So I'm gonna move the headcount to this new position, to the new manager. Not available for overlap because she's taking, there's nobody else getting hired. So you can see that's not even an option for me anymore. Once I've gotten that done, the next step, I can look at, in fact, I wonder if if I make it a little, can you still see okay if I shrink that a little? By not having it enlarged, you can actually see I've got the steps here on the left-hand side. So you can kind of know here's other things that I'm gonna be able to affect with this job change. So anything with the job, are they moving to a different job in making this transfer? Well, no, it's a lateral transfer. She's still gonna be a program development coordinator in this other job, not gonna change the title. But if I wanted to, hey, we don't include numbers in our job title, I could make an edit there. The location, I said engineering building, but you know what? I'd like to get more granular than that. I'm actually gonna put her in an actual space. Office number 100F. That's where she's gonna be located with this new supervisor. How many hours is she scheduled to work? I can make that change there. Other details of the job, this is still staff, still full-time, but you'll see all these different things that I would have the ability, maybe not edit all of them, but many of them I can edit. Attachments, maybe within our college, if you're going to do a lateral transfer, you need permission from the dean before you do that. This might be a place where I would want to add a PDF of that authorization to move Shelley's staff into her new position. So I could add documents here. Within the organization, this is where I can select a different cost center. So if it's no longer going to be in the, it's still gonna be in the College of Engineering, but maybe there's another cost center I want to associate this position with, I can search for that and I can select it here. I'm kind of curious what happens if I type in engineering. Okay, let's put her under mechanical. I don't know, where's Dean Wheeler? Using chemical. Okay, so we're gonna choose chemical engineering instead of the College of Engineering. Perfect. Knew we'd have some experts here. So I can change the cost center. As your finance people will be well aware, there's other things that you can add to it, an activity, other things to kind of designate where funding for the position is coming from. You'll work with your finance folks closely. On the compensation side, I can see what her pay was because this is a lateral transfer and I'm an HR professional. I know at BYU, we don't give pay increases for lateral transfers, right? But if there were a pay change associated with this is where I could enter that as well. Because she's an hourly employee, Shelley, I'm not gonna change it under salary. I would click on the hourly section. And if this was one of those rare cases where some miracle got approved, some kind of pay change, I would simply enter it here. So let's bump her up to 32, just for the sake of argument that this is that 0.001%. I can see that I changed her pay by $2, which was a 6.67% pay increase for her. So I can see that there. I'm gonna click the checkbox to save that section. Allowances would be something like an internet allowance. We may have like some IT positions where they're given an internet or a clothing allowance, something like that. That's what allowance is referring to. And you'll get into the details of these within your business partner and ops center trainings. What merit plan, there's that word again, merit. What merit plan is this position associated with? And it's the full-time staff merit plan. So when we go around to do that merit planning, merit increases, this is the group, this is the merit planning section that this employee is going to be included with all of their staff. Okay, so those are all the things that I wanted to change on this. And then I'm just going to click next. And then it gives me the chance to review it. So on that question about, hey, if I hit close the box, is it going to give me a next chance? That doesn't give you a second chance, but this does. So if you've made some change and you're like, oh no, I didn't mean to change it to 32, it should have been $31 now. If there's anything here that I didn't mean to change, oh, it's not 100F, it's 100A, anything, I can review all of the details of everything I entered in, all that information, the company, the cost center. I can make sure there's the base pay. It was 30, it's now 32. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted it to be. I can go through all this information. If there's anything that I have changed, it'll show me what it was and what it will be. And then if everything looks good, let's gonna say, hey, that's exactly what I meant to put in. I did everything exactly right. And I'm just gonna hit submit. So instead of like we do now, the edit job e-forms, is now going to be change job. And that's the business process we're going to be using. And it gives you all of those amazing options of things that you can change associated with the position. Questions about that? Yeah, in the back.
Do you see who the next approver is after you submit something like this?
Yeah. So you'll see you have submitted this, right? Lisa has submitted this and she's going to click on this view details. And then it's gonna show me up next is the BYU hiring offices. So this is where it's gotten routed to compensation. That's who's gonna review this next. They're gonna say, Lisa, you didn't have permission to change that pay to $32. Or, hey, yep, that's exactly what we talked about. We're all good. So it will show you the next approvers. I can see that kind of in the, if I want more details, you just saw I click on that down arrow by the details and processes. And it will give me on the process. I can see kind of this was initiated with Lissa and then see kind of other steps. Now it's with the compensation team. So Andy, Bethany, Denise, so glad we made we made them part of the compensation team, who knew? So I can see who the next approvers would be within even the hiring office. Great question. Hey, anything else on that? Yes, please.
You have a staff who's leaving your academic unit and going to another completely different academic unit. Still
Okay, if you-
terminate and then they hire?
Yeah, if you have a staff member who is leaving your department and getting hired by another department,
Like outside our college?
yeah, outside of your college, then they would hire them. They would hire the person on their end, similar to what we do now. I don't think there's anything you have to do on, I'm looking at Rob
Yeah.
on this end,
Acts more like a transfer, right?
Yeah.
They can pull them.
right? Similar to what we do now,
Your,
right?
that
The,
position would
the
remain.
new department would initiate that hire and it would pull the person out of their current.
You don't have to end their job.
You don't have to end their job. I mean, that process by essence would end their job. It would end the one job when they get hired into the new one.
And then you would pull up an open position on your side?
Mm-hmm. Yep, as soon as they get moved over that effective date, then you'd see that that position is now vacant. And you'd be able to move forward and filling that position. Great question. Sorry, I don't know if you got by my answer what that was, but once they're moved, when they move to a new position, they're hired to a new position, that would allow you to then fill that vacancy. Yes.
So again, in general, from a process standpoint, do you prefer the a department pushes the change or the new department pulls a change for student employees or staff?
Yeah, so the question is, who's kind of pushing the change, the department is sort of they're leaving or the department they're going to?
Yeah.
And it really is the department they're going to, because that's the department that's actually, hey, I'm hiring them to this new department. So it would be whatever position they're going to, it's gonna hire them onto that.
So to go with that, if Shelley's staff was, very good, and she knows she's gonna get hired on with a different college, and so she gives their 2 weeks notice, right? So the new college would be pulling Shelley away, but since I have the 2 weeks notice, can I go in and start process of replacing that position, because we know that Shelley's moving away, so that there's, we can get it started and possibly even trying to get the new person to be in that seat on the same day as, Shelley is, right? So I can do that
So
part on my
the
own.
question was, Shelley's staff is so awesome. She's getting promoted and getting hired for a promoted position by another college, another department. And she's given her notice. Can I start to fill the new position?
Without the other.
Without, she hasn't moved yet, but she's going to, and the answer is yes. Because when I enter that in, when they enter in that hire, they can be doing it well in advance of what that effective date is. So once they've entered that in and said, hey, we're hiring Shelley over here, she's going to be moving to this new position, that'll allow you to fill the position that Shelley's gonna be vacating. Yeah, great question. Okay, fantastic. Let's go back to our presentation here. And that's, we got through it. All right, we'll turn the time over to Lauren.
Right, everyone, it's our very last knowledge check, so let's see what you guys know. I have a lot of questions. The first one is, and I don't know if this was specifically outlined, so I might have to tell you, but when will you formally follow up on the goals that you set? So this is going back to talent. So does anyone have any ideas?
The new year or?
Yes, the performance review, and I heard mid-year reviews. Yes, that's right. And you can make a goal at any time in the year. When can feedback be given? When throughout the year can you do that?
Anytime.
Yes, anytime. Who can employees request feedback for?
Anyone.
So employees can request feedback for themselves and managers can request feedback for the people that they supervise. Okay, so 2024, at the end of the year, you guys are going to do a PDP for the last time. In 2025, you're gonna do a
Performance review.
Good. And that's just the same for ASR in 2025. That will be called merit increase. Okay, this is more BYU than Workday. BYU has competencies for the performance review. How many are there? 5. Okay. And say I'm a manager and I have an employee leaving the university and they don't have any other jobs at the university, which task will I use? Good. And then my last one is in the same vein. If I have an employee leaving their job in my organization, but they have another job somewhere else, which task would I use? Great. Okay, yeah. So I like that you guys are all able to answer them like this. But that means that you guys know them. So that's good. And now we'll just have Rob get up for a second and he will talk about what's upcoming and then we'll send you guys out.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, our presenters too, Molly and Greg. You guys did an awesome job today. Thank you so much. Share a little bit of this and we can see if there's any last questions. And Lindsay also wanted to come up and share a little bit about some of the resources that we're assembling, maybe some of the other things with the remaining activities that she's helping for all of you. So again, this is the end of our day 4 session. We have gotten through so much stuff. I am really impressed with the participation that we've had. We've gone back and reported. We have some of our leadership on our team. How's it going? Do the HR people get it? And from what I'm feeling and sensing as you guys participate in the questions you asked, this has been hopefully a meaningful experience and we've been able to share a lot with you. I know there's still a lot more to learn and see and do. I'm a very hands-on learner, so I know if I was in your seats, I'm still anxious for more, but we appreciate so much your time here and also your attention and your engagement and also the opportunity to work with you guys in the future as this HR community we have on campus with everybody. One of the things I mentioned earlier we wanted to cover is, so we have additional training for you guys, but we also have it for all of the people on campus, right? This goes to students and faculty and staff. So we are launching training for all employees at the end of the year, so probably end of October, and we'll just talk through some of this. They will be e-learning format, so we won't be able to gather everyone quite like this for every training that we do. So we're preparing online training that they'll be able to go through and kind of get the employee essentials, right? So if I'm a student, if I'm different roles, some of this will be varied. So you can see the format here, the length of time commitment, right, varies for different people. So if I don't do anything with expenses or I don't do anything with finance, I may have a shorter experience. Like if I'm just a student employee and I want to learn how to clock in and clock out or apply for a job, right, I'm in, I'm out, my training can be pretty short. But otherwise, it is very based on your roles and your duties. So that's coming. Here's some of the examples of the topics that we're covering. So we won't get too much into that. I'll plug in another plug for Greg and his team. So this is managers' duties and workday. So some of the tasks managers will do. There's also some great supervisor training in general. If you have members of your team who need training as far as how do I be a good supervisor, and that's maybe outside of a tools standpoint, it's skills I need to learn, communication patterns I need to be able to establish with my team. There's resources like that as well. And one of the nice things that I wanted to share today is that you guys are going to get a little bit of a sneak peek. We want to release this training to all of you a week before everybody else. So you can come in, take a look at it, see it, experience it, be familiar with it. So as people in your organizations realize, oh, I have a question about this, I know who to go to. I have a business partner or I have an ops person that maybe has been in Workday a little bit more, or they're change champion, same thing. They'll have early access to this. And so we'll provide an opportunity for you guys to see the training that they're going through. And then if we launch it and share it with the rest of the campus, if they have questions, they may be able to come to you. It's going to have a little bit more insight into some of that stuff. Lindsay, is this anything you wanted to add or? Let's see what my next slide is. Okay. We'll talk through that. As she's coming, as Lindsay's coming up, again, we've had you guys check into these. This is really helpful for us to get feedback from you. Beck, kind of a see who's here. So if you guys want to pull up your phones and get checking in, Lindsay will come up and share just one more tidbits.
Walker. I like to move, right? Okay, a couple of announcements, just like, right? Just like Rob was mentioning, this is our last preview. How do you guys feel now that you've seen day 1 through day 4, the process or the life cycle of an employee? If you like, thumbs up, thumb in the middle, thumbs down, a little bit, some of you guys are so excited. Okay, I'm feeling a lot of thumbs up. We understand that this isn't everything in detail. These are not all the scenarios, the possible questions that you guys could have. That hands-on training is coming in September. That time where you'll be able to go through all of those scenarios and be able to ask very specific questions about your unit, your department, your division, your college. Those are coming up. We had, let's see here. First off, I wanna go, you guys can go ahead and keep working on your check-in. I just wanted to reiterate the training hub, the website that we have available to you guys, through workday.byu.edu, where you can select on that training dropdown and select the HR business partners and operations, training path. Who has actually been to the site? I raise a hand. Okay. Hopefully we can get to, sure. Rob's gonna pull it up in case you haven't seen it before. There may be some new additions to this team. We keep getting additions to who's being assigned as a business, not so much business partners, but operations. We keep getting those changes, and so we tried to enact those changes as quickly as possible and onboard them into the operations systems. But if you are new, you should be able to see this site now. You can go to workday.byu.edu, go to that training dropdown in the navigation bar, and select the HR business partner and ops training path. You will not have all those options. You'll just have the option that's right for you. You won't even see the finance ones, unless you are one of those special zebras and you are doing finance as well. Then you'll see those. And so on that training hub, it'll have the links to all of the recordings from day 1 to day 4, including the kickoff, the slides that were shared in the kickoff, any of the check-in links. Like if we had a couple people who weren't able to do it, or they left before they did a check-in, you can see those as well, and do those online. This next section right here, we call this our scheduling carousel. You can see arrows on both sides. You can navigate to all the different days. When we get to the hands-on training in September, we will add on to this carousel. You'll start to see those dates pop up. Question?
There were some slides that we were shown on some of the other days where we're going through the training, and I don't see those up there.
We can add those slides in. Yeah, not a problem. You'll be able to see them like in the recording, but again, that includes the
You have to
presenter
go through the whole recording to get to the slide.
to get to the slides.
The
We'll
only thing is that the recording is a little overexposed in places, and so some of the slides aren't legible. If you could upload PDFs of the slides, that would be super helpful for navigating.
Will do. Good question, comment. Okay, perfect. If you have someone who is new, this next item is changes to your SEM staff. The SEM training is what we're doing right now. Anyone who is a business partner or operations specialist, you are part of that SEM group now. If you have changes to that staff, please let us know as soon as you can. We realize that as we get closer to the semester, some of these hirings may be taking place currently. Please send that information to the workday-training@byu.edu. You can also click on this help link right here in your training hub. You can write out that message, add those people's names. If you have not hired them already and you know a start date, give us that start date, because we can't onboard them until they've been actually hired. Perfect. So anyway, the training hub, you are welcome. Start sharing that in your staff meetings. If people are not familiar, have them get on. We want them to be really comfortable with that before the training starts in September. For those who are going to be doing a lot of faculty hiring, we are going to do a faculty preview. There's been enough of a request where a similar preview like we've been doing this week or last week, I should say. We are going to do a single preview day for the faculty scenario, start to finish. Those invites are going out to select business partners that have been identified by the faculty team, and that invite should be coming out shortly. Again, that's just a preview, it's not hands-on training starting yet, it's just like what we've been doing right now. Okay, then obviously, if you guys answered or asked a question in the training and you'd like to come grab a piece of swag, we still have some up here, they're just not spread out. So feel free afterwards to come down and grab something on your way out. A thought I wanted to put into your heads, where you guys have been asking a lot of really good questions about situations that you're going to encounter in your day-to-day jobs after go live. Whether that's student hiring, student transfers, terminations, faculty, whatever that looks like. When it comes to the hands-on training in September, around the same time, we will have what we call an assessment kickoff. It's also going to include some Workday health training. More on that to come, you don't need to worry about that now. However, the assessment kickoff is going to give you more information about what the end of your training looks like. How do we make sure that you guys are prepared for go live? There's going to be an individual assessment at the completion of your training. We've had some people who have seen that from the slides from the kickoff and said, I'm going to be out of town. We will work with you, case by case basis, it'll be okay. But that individual assessment is going to be very specific to what you're trained on. Again, it's open note, it's going to be in the room, you guys will have like study guides and cheat sheets and all the things. You'll be prepared, there aren't gonna be any trick questions on that. For the next assessment will be a group assessment. That is going to be all of you guys in your individual units, colleges, departments, whatever that is. Your whole team, from your business partner, operations manager, if you're, I'm sorry, specialist, if you're on the finance side, it'll include managers as well. That is going to be your time to show how you're going to handle these scenarios in real life, right? You're creating new processes, support processes within your colleges based on the new Workday systems. So during the training, you'll be asking questions on specific scenarios. Start taking note of those. What are you constantly looking for? What are the red flags? What questions are you going to be facing? Those are going to be wrapped up into a handout at that kickoff. We're going to say, okay, here's your study guide. Here's the different scenarios that we've collected, not just from you guys, but from central HR, central finance, day-to-day things that are going to happen. And in that group assessment, you're going to have a chance to work together to show how you're going to support that scenario. So just a heads up on that. We're going to give a lot of support in the meantime to help practice on those. There's no right or wrong answer. You guys create those processes within your college. They are unique to you. You create the right answer, essentially. So that's what that group assessment is going to be. So more information will happen. We'll be given here shortly. Again, that'll be September, the beginning of the hands-on training time. Any questions now that we're done? Awesome. Okay, you guys are excused. Thank you all for coming.